Hey YouTube subscribers, we're back with another video, and we're going to be talking about something that is near and dear to my heart. Growing up, I've seen a lot of people that were doing things that just weren't right. They were selling drugs on the street corners, and it's an inner city environment that a lot of people can relate to. But as a kid, when we talk about environments, you look up to these things. And you wonder, is there anything else that you could do other than that? So in most inner cities, you have sports. And so thankfully sports was taking me from the potentials of possibly being on the block, where a lot of my friends, it looked good, it looked exciting. These were the kids that they had all the nice sneakers, they had all of the jewelry, they had the girls, they had the cars, all these things that looked exciting. But what I didn't see was them always having to look over their back. Them always having to change face in front of one person to the next because they didn't know who they can trust. So these are the disguises. And then it became the distractions. The distractions because when you're going to school every day and they dropped out of school, they have all this free time on their hands and it just looks like one big party. And so you could totally get caught up in these things because if you hang around them enough, it starts rubbing off on you. Last week I had spoke about guilty by association. And a lot of you guys, thank you for all the comments and the feedback I get through text messages and things like that. And also I just want to point out that leave your comments down there at the bottom so that way I'll know what you guys feel about some of these things that we're talking about. But as a kid, going back to sports, it separated me from going down that path. But what it also did was it gave me a creative outlet. So I thought that was my purpose. But what ended up happening was that I realized as I got older, it was a vehicle to my actual purpose, which is doing what I do now, working with a lot of young people and helping them achieve their dreams, and also giving them the tools to get there and empowering them and helping them to reach their fullest potential. But it could be a total disguise even while you're doing something you passionately enjoy. It could be a disguise in that you think that that's who you are. It becomes your identity, and it's not your identity. And you get too closely attached to it, and you go with the ups and downs of that identity if you choose to make something that you're good at become your purpose, your overall purpose of who you are as a person. But what happens when that gets taken away? What happens when things just aren't going right? In every industry, there's always something that people just don't like about the industry. For me, in playing basketball, I hated all the traveling, being away from your family, the sacrifices of those things. Getting up and having to perform at your best, night in and night out. It wasn't as fun for me anymore. I also remember when my dad said to me, hey, look, you know what? College is expensive, and I'm not paying for it. So right there at a young age in middle school, I realized me playing this sport was no longer just about fun. It was really about getting to college. And so I put all this added pressure on myself. And it's so easy when you put all this added pressure on yourself to think, wait a minute, do I really want to do this in life? Or is it just something I want to do to just help out my family, make my dad proud, make my mom proud, make my family members proud? And after you give so much of that, of your life to that, you wonder what's left, what's left for me to do. And there was things that I probably wanted to do, but basketball became the big picture for me. And like I said, getting so close to it, it could distort your view. My perspective was that I'm going to do everything I see all my teammates doing and what comes with the game. And I started to just get a sour taste in my mouth because I was getting frustrated with the industry, frustrated with the make-believe. On one end, you go and visit hospitals where there's children that are sick, and you go and visit them to help, to really just be like a pillar in the community. And you it becomes a checklist. You just check it off your list, like, okay, I did my good, I gave back, and then you go to hanging out with your teammates because you spend the majority of your time with them. So when you're spending the majority of your time with somebody, these things that they're into rubs off on you. Hanging out, going to clubs, everything that comes along with it, the nightlife. You always wanted to be around people that were cheering you on, because that's what you get when you were in the games. But what is your life like when you're just sitting there by yourself and you have time to think, and there's no cameras on you, and there's nobody around you? Who are you then? And that's your real authentic self. So how can you do something that you love to do and it not take away from who you really are and what you really believe and who you want to impact and your legacy? These are things that I want you guys to think about. And I want you to really think deeply about it, because you too may be listening to other people and hearing other voices. And I spoke earlier, in the past weeks, about your ladder can be against the wrong wall, which means you're doing all these things for all the wrong reasons because somebody told you so. And so environment has a lot to do with your inner environment as well as your outer environment. So I call it ear, what you're listening to, right? Ear standing for environments appearing real. It's appearing real to you because these are the things that you've seen. These are the things that you grew up around. You might have been raised like this. But remember, your parents and any authority figures, they gave you what they thought was best at the time. They might have disciplined you for what they thought was best at the time. But as you get older, you have to learn to think independently. You go from dependent to independent. And what type of person do you want to become? We spoke about who do you want to be? Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? All of those things, when you figure out this is my aim, I'm aiming for that X marks the spot, you're going to start associating with people that's going to help you get there. People that are like-minded. And you're not going to waste time. I spoke to a group of kids the other day where teachers labeled them. These are the bad kids that hang over here. And so I asked all those kids, I said, how many of you have good grades? How many of you are getting in trouble all the time? How many of you have really been a distraction in class, getting in trouble even at home? And pretty much everybody raised their hand. But I sensed that. And only one kid raised his hand that said, I get good grades. But he was about 20 feet from these other kids. And I said, you know what? Guilty by association. Even if you're doing good, you're not getting in trouble. You're hanging around with these kids, and the teachers all label you the bad kids. But I encouraged them in this one area. I said, prove them wrong. So often we get labeled. So often there's a stigma right above us that just says, hey, you're from this environment, you're this culture, you have this background, and this is who you're going to become, because statistics show this is the people that make it out of here, and it's slim. It's not that many. And you could look at yourself and you could say, you know what hope do I have? I look around and I don't see anybody inspiring me to what I want to do. But I'm telling you, look, as a person from the inner city, growing up in Philadelphia, I could tell you that you can do what it is that you really set your mind to do. But the key is setting your mind to doing so. Write it down, the things that's in your heart. Associate with people that know more than you. You don't want to be the smartest person in the group. You know, when I looked up to the people that were on the street that were selling drugs and doing different things like that, I looked up to them for all the wrong reasons, because they had all the material things. You know, they, like I said, they had all of these things. But what I didn't see is when I go home, they're dealing with all these other things in their life that are distractions. And so everything that they were doing was a disguise. How many people you're around right now are disguising themselves from who they truly are? And you're believing that. You're believing that that environment appears to be real, but it's not. Only to find out when you make the wrong move, every second of your life you're making decisions and you might make the wrong move, and it causes you to have to take a time out, because you might get caught up in that and become a part of the system. So I'm trying to help a lot of you guys get out of that cycle, and you can do so, but it's every decision that you make. You got to choose to step out of. You got to choose to step out of. You got to think for yourself. And it's okay. People might be laughing at you. You know, people might be talking behind your back. But what is that going to do? It shouldn't do anything. It should only encourage you to just say, you know what, I'm going to get resistance when I decide to do something different from what my family has done, from what my friends have done. When you choose to reverse that curse, when you choose to step out of that cycle, you realize that you're going to be met with opposition. But guess what? It's going to make you stronger. So I just want to encourage you guys, if you haven't subscribed, below hit that subscribe button. Also leave me some comments. I want to hear your thoughts. I want to see your thoughts. I want to know that, because thoughts become things. And so, like we talked earlier, get around the right people. Don't be involved with things that are going to make you guilty by association. X marks the spot. Aim at where you want to go. I looked up to these people only to find out there's no substance. So now everything in my life, I want it to be about substance, not just about the way I appear to be, but who I really am in my inner world. There's two worlds. There's the inner world and there's the outer world. All right. Until next time, I'm out.